And welcome back to part 16 of Final Fantasy 15. 3 parts in 1 week, don't get used to it. This is the last video I have in the backlog to do the voice work for. I had a good spare few hours and I just got them, all 3 of them recorded, done, and so I just thought, okay, I'll upload them one a day, get them all out, sort of thing. So this is the last one in this group, so don't suddenly expect another one tomorrow or anything like that. But in today's part, we need to try and get our car back, the good old Regalia, which, as we found at the end of the last part, is being held by this Imperial base over here. Which means we're going to do a little bit of Metal Gear here. We're going to do a bit of a stealth infiltration. And don't worry, it's not like a proper stealth infiltration. You can completely fail it, being very aggressive, and as long as you kill the enemies before they have a chance to run like 5 miles to trigger an alarm, you'll be fine. Which you will see during this. I play stealth at first, but then after a while I just kind of go ham on it and just go crazy, because there's no need to be stealthy. It's a very half-assed stealth section, if I'm honest, which is kind of, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because like having stealth in literally every single kind of adventure game nowadays is kind of like, ugh. Like, do something special and original with it. Don't just slap it in for the sake of slapping it in. Like, even the new Spider-Man bloody does it, but they have random stealth sections just thrown in for the hell of it. And it's like, no, I came to play Spider-Man for Spider-Man. Especially because they're so simplistic. It's like, no, do something with it if you're gonna do it. Don't just have it sneak run around, have all the enemies have terrible cone vision, and not put any effort into it. Do it properly or not at all. But this game has it as well, but this game, thankfully, it's extremely optional. You'll see that as we go to it. You can be stealthy, but if you get caught, you can wrap up the enemies very easily. And here I'm deciding what to have. And still not giving my Chocobo anything good to eat, just because I know I'm not going to be riding it to get any mileage out of it, so there's no point. So we've got a special Metal Gear infiltration this time. As I do actually kind of like this section. It just feels a bit weird that they put the stealth section in it, where it feels kind of unnecessary. And we got quite a lot of experience from doing that dungeon at the end of the last part, and just enough to get everyone to level 30. We're building up. We've still got a little ways to go yet, but we're definitely getting there. I can't remember if I saved any pictures from this. Oh no, I saved that one, okay.
Perfect timing.
You've obviously got to save that one. That one's the obvious one. That's another one of those scripted photos that you always get.
Hey, this one's pretty good.
Shame I skipped it, Nox.
I think it too.
Oh no, we have the strategy!
So, any bright ideas, Ignis?
A dark one, as it were. A frontal assault would leave us exposed. But if we move under cover of night, we might be able to infiltrate the base unnoticed.
And until then?
We learn all we can about the base's design, and attempt to narrow down the Regalia's location. I'll analyze what intelligence we have available to find us a way in.
Sounds good, Specs.
All right, we're gonna get our wheels back.
Our goal is the Regalia. The last thing we want is to engage an entire garrison. Avoid detection at all costs.
In and out before it gets light, then.
Indeed. Even if it means leaving the task unfinished, we withdraw before we overstay our welcome.
To be fair, they do make quite an emphasis to push on you should be stealthy, try and be quiet. And they even make a point of saying if it comes daytime and you haven't completed the mission, you will retreat out of there because it's not worth the hassle. Like, they make it somewhat realistic in the explanation, but in reality you can be very frontal and very aggressive and you will get away with murder.
Until then, hold position. 3.
I like the music though. The music for this section really helps build the stealthy Metal Gear atmosphere, and that's the thing I'm going to keep on comparing to, because the only alternative is Splinter Cell, but we're not using shadows to advantage, so it's just good old Metal Gear. You can also do warp kills. It's a stealth kill you can do with the warp strike. You literally just use a warp strike on an enemy that doesn't know you're there and you'll execute them. you can only use it in stealth situations like this. You can't use it in actual combat if you get like a sneak attack on an enemy, so don't think you can. Which is a shame, because I'd love to be able to use it outside of combat for a quick kill. But no. So as you go to progress, Iggy will stop you to highlight searchlights.
We're clear.
I've never been properly caught by the searchlights, but I'm not about to find out what happens if you do, because it might immediately trigger the alarm, and if the alarm goes off, then it is a mission failure. So if an enemy spots you, you can kill them before they trigger the alarm quite quickly and quite easily. But if it's a searchlight, no clue, so it's not worth the hassle.
Cover.
And you don't really want to be getting all these mech walkers walling around on your case either.
Tech armor.
Don't want to mess with one of those.
We shouldn't have to, if we keep to the shadows.
Right.
To be fair, this section is good for Ignis though, of just highlighting how... It's supposed to highlight how smart, how cunning he really is, just like in his place in the team, which is fair enough. Like, there's other moments that I think do it better later on, but this one does it quite well as well. I think it's this one I get caught and just decided to go fuck it and just go very, very aggressive. Because I warp up here, yeah, I warp up here and I get spotted. Yeah. So because there's a guy right there staring at me. So if you immediately just act on it and kill these guys, there you go, no problem. No one noticed because there was no one left to notice. So, but you still got to be wary of the searchlights. This isn't quite a searchlight because there's no one actually, you know, searching it. It's just a giant light, so you can go through it. I'm a bit hesitant, as you can tell, but I do eventually just go through it. Couldn't you realise that's the way I was supposed to go? And even though you are on a time limit, because you've got to do this before the daytime, you do have more than enough time, so don't worry about it.
Generator of some description.
And after a certain point, the time limits will not matter anymore.
Only strong.
I say we wreck it. Spare us the sneaking around.
The risk is too great. Finding the regalia comes first. Not a sound. You'll alert the anime.
I get caught by these guys as well, but once again, if you're just on point and quick about it, it doesn't matter if you get caught. It only matters if you meander too much and just kind of dick about. Which you shouldn't be doing if it's a stealth section. It's about being precise. It's about patient precision. I get caught here, I think. Oh no, someone spots me. Or not. Yeah, now someone spotted me. Where were they? Oh, up there. And this guy decides to open fire on us instead of calling the alarm, so we have more than enough time to act on it, because he's a twat. Same with this guy. And the guy behind him. Like, none of them are going for the alarm, so this is a free break.
No use hanging around here.
Indeed.
After you've cleared out a base, much later in the game, it is always worth coming back into them because there is a healthy amount of loot you can find in the corners. If you search for all the huts and look around and whatnot, but when you're on your main mission here, you can't really.
There's the old girl.
She's a real sight for sore eyes.
And none the worse for her time in Imperial hands.
Unfortunately, we can't get to that straight away, because now the stealth section is officially over the moment you approach the car.
Objective is to clear a path for the regalia.
There are several ways of dealing with all the enemies around there, including turrets. There are turrets around the map that you can use as weapons to do whatever you need to do. I do use them quite plentiful as we go through this section, because there isn't that many sections in the game where you have access to turrets. So of course I'm going to use the opportunity at hand. And there's various different versions, including a machine gun and a more explosive launcher type. If you can get away with it, hunt down the machine gun type, because it's just more damage per second. You will wipe through the enemies a lot better. The explosive shot is still good, don't get me wrong, but the machine gun's just better. It's just superior. Also, similar to the old model of these guys, if they have the big shield with the electric stick on it, you see them charge it up, just wait it out, because it's a free strike. You just hold square, wait it out, and you'll get a free knockdown on them. We're also going to be swarmed by a lot of troops. So once again, it's just more Imperials, and this is where it introduces the turret to you. It takes me a while to find it. Like, you're gonna see me spin the camera a bunch and try and work out where it is. And it's also highlighted that there are energy tanks, which are essentially just the explosive red barrels, that if you shoot them will detonate and will instant kill any enemy surrounding it. You can see I'm still searching for the thing. I'll find it eventually, don't worry. There it is. They put a little light on it to make it easier to spot, and it still took me forever. This is the explosive shot one, unfortunately. I'd say it's still good. The accuracy on it's a bit awkward. Like, you have to kind of get a feel for it, which you're going to see me do as we go. Like, I don't immediately get the grasp of it. I have to kind of feel my way through with it again. And I should really be shooting the energy tank, but for some reason I abstain for a while. There we go. Because the blast radius on it is really good as well, so you might as well. Oh yeah, if you get hit by anything, you get knocked off it. So now I go on a mission to try and get the guy who's trying to snipe me, and it just doesn't happen. Well, I'm determined to try and get the bugger, and it just doesn't happen. What I really should have done is just immediately warp strike over and get him. Because this is just time wasting, so I can't get him. And eventually he snipes me off again. Like so. And if you're wondering why I keep on bringing up the shortcut menu, it's because it's R2 to shoot on the turrets. Which throws me off a little bit, because Prompto, when you're playing as Prompto, to shoot with him it's R1. Like, make it a bit consistent, why don't you guys? Also, if you're just sitting on the turret and doing nothing else, don't be surprised if your teammates, like as you can see with Prompto, get knocked down quite often. It will happen. Case in point, Prompto just died. So I have to get him up. In your own time, Prompto. There we go. And in fact, we're already kinda nearly finished with this section. I say kinda because it's still a bit of a run from here. It's just in terms of like onslaughts of enemies, there's not much left. Also, oddly enough, Warp Strike didn't strike. And it does it again here, I think. Oh no, it did strike that time. But I just kind of stopped right in front of him on that strike. Which, don't get me wrong, it's cool in its own ground. The Warp Strike system is a really cool system, and I hope, like, I think it's quite innovative what it does, and I hope that games find a way to take the concept and revolutionize it and add to it and build up to it, because it is a cool idea to just be able to dart around like a maniac every so often like this. It's one of the best things about this game is the Warp Strike, to be able to just throw your sword anywhere and land there. And it'd be like fucking brilliant if you had it in real life, let's be honest. Like, you wouldn't throw it somewhere, you'd leave it somewhere. Because the Kingsglaive can do it as well, but they can't do it the way Noctis can. Noctis can do it with any weapon because of his royal blood. Kingsglaive have to use this special blade, this special curved knife. And they throw the knife and then they'll teleport to it. If you had one of those knives in real life, you wouldn't throw them places, you'd leave them or like back alleys or something like that where people wouldn't find them, with areas nearby where you need to go. Like, I'd put one at home and one in town somewhere. It's like when I need to go get something from town, just whoop, and I'm in town. I'll go get what I need to, and then whoop, back home. This is the machine gun one, by the way. You can tell by the iron sight on it that it's circular instead of more square, meaning it's machine gun based. It's the easiest way to tell. Reticle was the word I was first looking for, but I ended up on sight, so here we are. So that is the better one in my opinion, because it just lays more carnage quicker. But the other one is still helpful. At this point I'm aware we've only got like 3 or so in-game hours until it hits daytime. So I just start making a bit of a run towards it, the reactor. The moment the reactor dies, you're safe. The time limit no longer matters. Well, I say that, it might be when all hell breaks loose the time limit stops mattering. But I've never ran out of time. I think this is the explosive turret, unfortunately. So, yeah, it is. Your priority, the big guy's a pain in the ass, but your priority should be the generator, because it immediately ends the fight the moment the generator goes down. Also, I get attacked by the big guy, the big machine, instead of just a normal guy in the turret. I think it's at this point I decide, alright, I'm just going to move towards the generator. As soon as this goes down, it ends the fight, so just go ham on it. If it helps you, circle around the back of it so then the enemies have a harder time hitting you because you're using the generator itself as a shield, like this. I mean, the curving rockets around you might not help as much as you'd hope, but it still helps. But it's nearly dead now. It doesn't take too much of a pounding to get taken out. And as soon as it goes down, it will give you new access. You're finally going to be able to see what the summons do. This is the first section you get to use a summon. At random points during combat, it'll come up, you'll hear like the stars play, you'll come up, hold down L2, or whatever button you have set to summon. And one of the 6, whoever you've got on board, will help you out. Worth mentioning that some of the 6 can't help you in certain situations. Ramu is the only universal one of the lot. He's the only one that in every single situation you can use. Titan can only be used in the first region of the game, like around Cindy's workshop, the deserty area, which name slips my mind right now, unfortunately. And the summon also lingers around a little afterwards, after you summon them.
Rest in pieces. Come on, let's grab the regalia and split.
And the other 4 we'll talk about when we get to them. I won't spoil them. But if you've played a Final Fantasy game before, you should already kind of know which ones are going to be in and which ones aren't.
Today. The Marshal will be pleased to hear of this.
Like, I'd probably say Titan is probably the least known of the summons that return in 15. Like, all the rest are much more commonly known.
There's a base. We go in and bust it up. Bust a base.
Also, this is me just going the wrong way. I come round here thinking it will just cut through. No, it doesn't. This is a dead end.
Why not go for something a little more epic?
Because I thought of it first. So that's the name.
Like, there's a little item here, and there's probably one around the corner, but I don't linger because it's like, okay, this is the wrong way. What you really should be doing is going back through here and around the long way. But as you can see, the daytime has approached us now, but since everyone's dead, it doesn't matter anymore, so you can just approach the regalia in your own time. Also, this is just me being a twit, just showing off the machine gun is there. But that's pretty much it for what we're doing. And we've got a cutscene approaching, and it's an important one because it's introducing a new character. One that's important to the plot, but doesn't get anywhere near enough screen time, in my opinion, to really justify his place. But, that being said, here we go.
Guys?
Long has it been, Noctis.
Ravis.
You receive the storm's blessing, and yet you know nothing of the consequences.
Watch it.
Be still, all of you.
Not good.
Heir to a crown befitting no other. Witness his splendor and glory. All hail the chosen king.
Awful high and mighty for an imperial rat, serving the enemy to hunt down Luna.
I do not serve, I command! The king's sworn shield.
You better believe it.
A weak shield protects naught.
Hey! Wanna go? Let's do it.
Should the chosen fall, that too is fate.
I'd say that's far enough. A hand, Highness.
Not from you.
Oh, but I'm here to help.
And how is that?
By taking the army away.
You expect us to believe that?
When next we meet, it'll be across the seas. Just so happens we have business of our own with the tutelary deity, don't we? Fare thee well, your majesty. And safe travels.
You guys know that guy?
Ravis Nox Fleuret, first son of Tenebrae. and elder brother to Lady Luna Freya.
Want to point out, in spite of his belief of fate and believing that we're on a fate's journey, he was still prepared to kill us and break that same fate anyway, just because it suited him at that situation. Like, Ravus is not a nice person. Ravus Noctfleury is a dick. He doesn't like the Insomnian people, he doesn't like the royal family, he doesn't like Noctis, and has no respect for him, and disagrees with Destiny's path and the journey that he knows Noctis is heading towards.
So help me figure this out.
And so it was willing to break it at that moment if it wasn't for Arden stepping in and saying, "Whoa, don't fuck with Destiny."
Want to lead their army.
Who cares?
Certainly formidable enough on his own.
If Ravus wants power, I'll give him a taste.
But it's fine, because as you can tell, no one in the team really likes Ravus either. Especially Gladio, because that was probably quite a punch to his pride, that what happened there. Also, since we're not, like, pre-set back to the Starlam, I just made sure to, like, steer slightly to the right as we pass that turn, just on the off chance that Noctis decided to auto-turn towards it. But all the roadblocks, now we've got our card back, have been lifted, so the map is open once again for you to do your side quests and exploring freely. So our first protocol is to immediately head back to the Starlam, since we haven't been able to have any contact with Iris. Not at all. And so it's probably a good idea to make sure that she's safe and okay after all that drama. And so I let a little bit of Final Fantasy IX music take us on our journey, because this is quite a drive, and I decided not to cut it out just in case there was any important dialogue, which there is right at the start and not really on the journey. But I don't show enough of the drive in a game that's like mostly driving. I think that's the thing. Whenever Final Fantasy 16 eventually rolls around, I do hope they tackle this formula again, but I hope they find a way to make it more interesting to explore it, because your fastest way around the map is this car. And it's just kind of like, Now don't get me wrong, if they end up doing the same sort of thing next game, I'd still be happy with it. I just want to see them do more with the formula now it isn't their first rodeo of making an open world mainline game. Well, then technically this isn't either. Play Final Fantasy 12. That's an open world-ish game. It's not completely open world, but it gives you more than a fair share of open spaces and sort of your freedom to do your own thing. But that game's issue was that it took fucking forever to get anywhere. Seriously, that game is about 20 hours too long, but not because of the story and environments, but because the environments are too big, so it takes you half a millennia to get across it. That being said, I might let's play Final Fantasy 12 one day, but it won't be any time soon. Because even when I finish this Final Fantasy game, the next Final Fantasy I'd want to do is not going to be 12.
Nice room tonight.
Yes, I'm certain we can secure.
My hopes, my optimistic hope, was that Square Enix would actually do something with the 30th anniversary of the franchise this year. Well, it's the 31st anniversary of the franchise this year. They just decided that this was going to be their big year to celebrate it instead of last year. And all we've got really is Dissidia and the promise of more DLC for this game. I was expecting like a bundle of all the old classic Final Fantasies or something brought to modern consoles, or something along those lines at least. But no, it's not happening. Which is just bizarre. It's like it feels very lackluster. Like, unless they're going to announce something at PlayStation Experience. Oh wait, PlayStation Experience isn't on this year, so unless they're going to announce something at the Game Awards, I don't know. But anyway, I'll stop rambling. We got an interesting cutscene as to what's been going on since we've been gone.
Made it to Kayam. The Empire came while you were gone. None of us said a word about Noct. They just showed up and then... Poor Jared.
What do you mean? What happened to Jared?
There was nothing we could do!
It's not right. We should have been here.
I couldn't stop them.
But I won't let the Empire get away with it. They'll pay for what they've done. I promise.
I believe in you, Prince Noctis.
I'm taking Talcott, and we're going to Kayam. We can't just stay here and do nothing.
I understand.
Next time on Final Fantasy 15, we'll be taking Iris and Talcott and taking them down to Kayam, a region to the south of us, to make sure they're safe there to set up a boat to get us on our way to Altissia, and safe away from the Empire. But until then, you guys take care now.